small announcement as part of the city's, the Common Council's transparency and accountability. As you know, Common Council is streaming its meetings, and that is starting today for all of these meetings as well. So just a reminder that because it's being streamed online, viewers at home won't be able to hear very well if you don't speak into the microphone. So to our presenters and members, please speak clearly into the microphones.
The Syracuse Board of Zoning Appeals meeting of September 13th, 2018 is now in session. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the August 23rd, 2018 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second. Any modifications or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Any abstentions? The minutes are officially adopted. The second order of business is to adopt the resolutions from the August 23rd, 2018 meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the resolutions?
So moved.
Second.
Any modifications or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolutions are officially adopted. The board will now conduct the public hearings on today's agenda. The way we work it here is that the applicant or the applicant's representative will state the reasons for the requested variance and present any material or documentation which is to be considered regarding the proposal. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given the opportunity to address the board. Then persons who wish to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or a representative will be given the option to make any closing arguments or comments to the board. Following the public hearings this afternoon, the board may make a decision on each application heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public hearing. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed into the record except for information that the board may request. That information will be available for public review at the zoning office in City Hall Commons. Staff will now introduce the first application.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The first application is application V 18-26. This is an area variance for the required front yard and maximum driveway width for the property at 108 Woodside Drive. The proposal is to expand a driveway. The property owner is Woodside Drive LLC, and the property is located within a residential class A1 zoning district.
Anybody who speaks in the microphone, please state your name and address first, please.
Hello, I'm Anthony Melavenda. I'm currently living at 28 Crossroad in DeWitt. This house that I'm building it's our house, it's my house. I'm building another home, or a new home. The reason that I'm here asking for a variance to add some square footage to the driveway relates to the site itself. I don't know how familiar you all are with the site. It's on a very steep hill. It's the approach up to Christ the King. It's on that drumlin, and I'm in the very steepest part of the hill. And the hill drops off not only as you go up the road, but it also drops off of the road very quickly. So the shape of the driveway is in this form because in order to come, I'm already coming in off of the road significantly higher than, say, the garage level. So that's why the driveway is located where it is primarily. The issue here is that after we've been building, what's become very clear is that you really cannot safely enter the road by backing into the road. The condition on my side of the street is very different than on the other side of the street. And my neighbors above and below me have turnouts where they can back in and nose their way. You need to nose your way out onto the road. If you look in your rearview mirror as you're even entering the driveway at that elevation, entering the road at that elevation, if you look in your mirror, rearview mirror, you see nothing but sky. And it's a very, very steep hill. So if, you know, I think if you were there, it'd be almost easier. It's very hard to get the three-dimensional, sort of the gravity of it. Oh, you have? Okay, so you know it, right? So, and what I'm trying to do is I need to be able to come out of the garage, basically, and I can't just come out straight and then turn around. Even with this, I can't do that. I've got to, even with what I'm asking for, I've got to come out of the garage and do this kind of thing in order to be able to then turn and go out. And the other little spur that I'm asking for is because the road is so steep. In fact, there's a guardrail there, as you're familiar with. The guardrail is only in front of my yard, right, because of the drop-off right there, and a little bit of my neighbor below. The hill is so steep there that I'm just looking to get one car. If I have any guest at all, if there's anything in the driveway, I can't maneuver through there at all. So just to get somebody, at least one car off of the street if I had a guest. So that's why I've asked for this this piece. But this area, which was not in my original permit, is to enable me to make that turn. I brought my architect with me, Bill Feraldo. I almost, you know, he could probably present this better than me. I get nervous in these formal settings, so, but that's what it's for. It's really a safety issue. I don't want to have, if I get any guests at all, I don't really want them parking on the street. I'm not looking for like tons of parking. If you look at all the driveways on my street, the ones that are across the road, see, they back down to the road, but even they've all got like 25-foot driveways or more. They all, you know, most of them have a spur that they park in, even on the other side of the street. And so that's why I am here. At this point, I guess I'd just soon.
Trees.
So.
Yeah.
So this is Bill, and you know, I don't really know what else to say. I'll just turn it over to Bill.
Questions from the board?
Yeah, our job is not just to say yes or no, but also to see if there's a way you could get what you need without giving you everything you're asking for. Sure. So, asking a few questions. There's that area you call for future planning, that rectangular area. Why don't you have the turnaround there?
What
I'm looking at is...
And you're welcome to have
Maybe you can address
your
that better than
associate
me,
there.
There's a triangular area called future planting area pending city approval.
That's a very steep slope.
Can you give us your name and address too, please?
Bill Feraldo, Harmony Architectural Associates at 1860 Erie Boulevard East, Syracuse. That area is in the right-of-way,
That's this
that where we had the plantings.
Oh, no, I mean next to that, in area in gray. That's where you have your finger, right? That's right.
Right. So it's just because it was written over here.
Okay.
Who is this?
Oh, I see there's an arrow. Okay.
That's the area that we would like to have to be able to back out from the driveway, make a K-turn and swing up there. That's at the base of the slope off of the road. You know, that would be ideal for us to have that.
So that is the place you're intending
yeah,
to turn around?
that's correct. That's the triangular area.
Then why do you need the bump out near the tree as well?
Well, that's,
Well, all right. So
go ahead.
the bump out near the tree was so that I had at least one spot to put someone off of the road because it's so steep there, especially in the wintertime. I don't even know where you put a car, the way that it gets plowed and such. So that's what the bump out was for. Or if a car got left in, it's a backup. If a car got left in that new corner that we're asking for, here, I could still come out and do this. It would be tight, but I could do it. As you can see, this is the garage. You know, you don't come back. I mean, by the time I get the nose of a car here, this is tight. I'm not asking for a lot, really. And also, you know, in terms of like what I assume is the intent of the ordinances, you know, with the green space there, this future planning area there that's there, that was just that we would add more green to it if the city lets us. It's the city's easement. But you really won't see this driveway. It'd be hard to actually see. And the fact that we sort of S our way in, you know, kind of aids in that, because there'll be more trees and such. So there's not, so I don't know if you know what I mean, because it's sort of below you, and you don't need much, you know, a 5-foot bush, and you don't see the driveway until you basically are looking at the garage door. So, I don't know.
Well, that sort of opens in another area, because you're originally talking about an area to back out so you can go straight out as you drive, but now you're asking also for a place to park within the front yard setback, and that's another issue.
I am. But you know, if I were on a flat or somewhere, I wouldn't be. If I think it really also relates to safety. I don't think anybody would want a car parked there out on that road, frankly. I'm going to have guests. I can't, that's not going to not happen. So that's why I asked for that. It's in keeping with the other driveways there. If you look at the driveway below me, the driveway across the street from me, they have, maybe they were built before the ordinance, I don't know, but they have this. The driveway that was reworked above me. So, in terms of square foot, and then some of the driveways are just huge there too. So it's not out of the keeping with the neighborhood. So that's why I'm asking for it. But yes, you're right. That is parking. That part is for parking. But again, it is also a backup for me. Okay.
Other questions? There's a big drop off, yeah, to the right of that driveway.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna put a rail up there or something?
Oh, I'll let Bill handle that, but yes, and we got all kinds of plans for, I don't want to get sued. So we're gonna have retaining walls and well, Bill, why don't you handle how you plan that? I don't know.
The current sketch that we had, I added the limestone retaining wall blocks. That's just to dye the topography in from the road. We would have a row of those along the downhill side of that. If, it would go in the pattern that we have shown on the plan here. If for some reason the parking spot off the road, was to go away, that would continue up straight along the driveway. The reason the driveway is located where it is to minimize the grade change from the road. It changes about almost 2.5 feet from about a 21-foot wide swath of the road. The most likely way that you're going to come in and out of this property is from downhill off of Bradford Parkway, swing in there, pull in the garage, back out of the garage into that triangular corner, and then head up and go down the hill rather than up the hill. You could go up the hill. But the grade there, it warps about 2 feet over the course of the driveway. There's a fence there now, a construction fence there. So we've been in and out of there, for over a year now. What I find, and I've noticed this over time, any of the workmen that come in there always back in, so that they can go out in a forward direction. So the need to go out forward to have a safe egress out onto Woodside is pretty important. The extra parking area was really a convenience issue. If that's I think that's something that we could discuss a bit. So
you haven't. When I went out yesterday, it looks like it's just hillside.
Yeah, it is. It's not graded off yet. That's going to get regraded. So that retaining wall would go around there, go around that edge. You can't bring any of that up into the right-of-way. So what will happen at the right-of-way, there's a break in the guardrail that's been there for a long, long time. That'll be terminated and graded down so that there's no abrupt end to the guardrail. Right now it's just eliminated, but that'll terminate down the right-of-way. Pretty much the way you see a guardrail terminated on a highway, it dies down to zero, so there's no abrupt end to it. So
you wouldn't put an abrupt wall there?
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do that in the, even if the public right-of-way would allow you, it wouldn't be something you would do. You wouldn't put a big obstacle there. we would continue the guardrail down and transition that down, you know, according to, you know, DPW's requirement of that. In,
We have a neighbor has written to us. I don't know if you saw
No.
the email. Oh, you just gave it to, okay. And they're worried about the elevation changes between the adjacent property and properties and your property, destabilizing impact on adjacent properties due to the already significant excavation that's occurred. Some questions, the road drainage is already difficult, and will this exacerbate that?
No.
Will measures be taken to ensure that the adjacent properties are not destabilized due to the project? Is the proposed foliage barrier to include fencing at the property line? And will the foliage adversely impact visibility for adjacent properties?
Okay.
Did you get all those?
Yeah, so is this the neighbor above us?
108 Woodside.
We're 108, so this is,
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
yeah. So the neighbor above us, just to give you a little bit of history about this, this property was available when that property was purchased. They elected not to purchase the property. They've owned that for a number of years. Tony and his wife Martine wanted to stay within the city. They're in DeWitt up on Cross Road. They like the city, want to stay within the city. All of their activities are in the city. And they drove up Woodside and saw this lot, asked me if there was a possibility of developing a home there. So being the, you know, crazy architect that I am, sure, we could build a house there. The neighbor up the hill was pretty much assured that no one in their right mind would build a house there. And so the asking price of the lot was, I think it was $25,000 when he bought the property. And he said, I'll give you $5,000. And yeah, okay, but the okay.
You know.
Well, let me finish. So anyway, he had a right to buy the property. He decided not to. Tony bought it. And, you know, we developed a plan for a house. We obviously were able to build a house there. He had concerns and, you know, about the stabilization when we were doing the construction of the house. There's no issue whatsoever with that. We had hired a civil engineer, did test borings and did all kinds of work to prove that there was no destabilization of the site. So you can drive up there, see this house, you know, keyed into the hill, and what's ever been done there is done. We have retaining wall blocks inside our property line to stabilize the grade and all of that, so there's no risk whatsoever of destabilizing anything. He had developed a new garage, some other things, moved a bunch of fill around, just dumps it over the hill. So that's actually, in fact, impacting our site. It's almost the opposite of what's going on there. And you can see it, and there's no silt fences or anything like that. So, you know, we've maintained our site, we've stabilized our site, we've had silt fences on. We did the connection for water at the road. There's been some runoff from that, but we'll make sure there's a swale at the top of our grade when we do that. So there's no impact on him whatsoever. It's all downhill, all into our property. And his entire property drains on our site, and all of the soils on his property are unvegetated, on anything. So go up there and see it, and it's pretty obvious. So
Let me just say,
Oh, you got to speak into the microphone, please.
Okay, so I just saw Mr. Morganti's email. What I'm seeing here, really, for what we're here for here today, I'm not seeing any of this actually relating to what we're here for today. I understand there's some frustration there because there used to be a wooded lot, and there isn't anymore. And I understand that, and I want to go forward on good terms with Mr. Morganti. He's my neighbor. Yeah. But this really has no bearing. These questions.
Yeah, well, we get it. You know, you can imagine when neighbors talk, they go
right.
broad.
Sure.
They don't go narrow.
I understand,
yeah.
and I'm probably guilty of that myself. So, but what we're talking about really, it's in terms of drainage, it would not relate to him because it would be who's downhill of me. It's a little more hard surface, but I've got what I've had has been probably through the construction has been probably the worst conditions we could had last year when we were building and the site was denuded so that you would have the most runoff. We had our silt fences up and such. We had nothing leaving the property, and we had the rainiest summer, spring on record last year. I don't know if you remember that, but that's why I'm still building, because I should have been done, frankly, last spring. So, you know, I think that as far as, you know, I'm not seeing anything in here that really relates. I mean, that extra spit of driveway, I'm not sure what he means. Like, it's,
Okay,
you know, so.
thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, what's the width of the driveway? Maybe Bill should answer this. What's the width of the driveway at the street?
It's the width of the street is about 21 feet, which is basically the width of our garage doors. Yeah, the width. If we were to go straight, it would be about 21 feet wide all the way to the road, which I believe is within the zoning requirement. You just can't go straight ahead. You go up a hill 7 feet from where we're graded, where we're now about 2.5 feet above the road by going in at a diagonal. We made it wide enough so you can come in either way. Okay, so it's a similar width that we would have had if we went straight. It allows us to kind of queue up on the road without getting into the road surface.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody here wish to speak in favor of the application? Anybody here wish to speak against the application? Hearing none. How should we do new business quickly, or?
Nobody's here to present it?
This is a time extension for the property at 506 to 512 Park Avenue. It was a variance for a 4-family dwelling. They're looking to extend their approval to
10/29.
next June.
Oh, that's addition, in addition.
Did they give a reason?
There were some delays in financing, I believe.
They expect to be done in
Yeah.
early 2019, they say in this letter.
They've started the work, they just have not finished.
2 years later, 1 year later?
The letters,
Is there a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve the extension.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any explanation?
My explanation would be that this doesn't have any effect on what the property is going to look like or anything. They just need more time in order to complete what we already approved.
Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Good. So then, these are additional new businesses, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, so we have one additional new business item, and this is a request from the Syracuse Industrial Development Agency for notice of intent to act as lead agency under seeker. This is a project taken on by RPS Hotel Holdings LLC. The owner of the property is actually BWI Hotel Acquisitions 1 LLC. The project is at 401 to 403, 405, 407, 409, and 411 to 413 Prospect Avenue. They all lie within a business class A zoning district. The development of the property and the plans are attached. They will demolish 5 structures, 5 existing buildings, and constructs an approximate 13,000 square foot 5-story mixed-use building, which will include a hotel, dwelling units, a parking structure, and a sky bridge to connect the parking structure to the hospital. This request is simply that SIDA is asking to be lead agency under seeker, and they have to do a coordinated review. They have concluded it as a type 1 action under seeker, so they are requesting that anyone that might potentially be involved consent to them being lead
Right, so it's
agency.
St.
So
Joe's.
this is also going to the Planning Commission as well.
So, what do we have to decide?
You have to consent that they can be lead agency under seeker.
Why wouldn't we?
So you would not have to conduct seeker.
Oh, okay.
Out of curiosity, does this go to the landmark board, or are they not designated?
That I know of, I haven't looked into these in detail yet. They're just at the beginning stages to start with their site-up process.
Since we're not terribly familiar with this kind of situation.
This board may never be involved,
Yeah.
but in case, usually when an agency seeks this kind of consent, they are casting a wide net in order to not leave anyone out that may potentially have some kind of approval or permission that is necessary for the project to move forward.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a I'll make a motion to approve.
Any discussion?
No, I think we just had that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're good. Let's talk about, let us talk about V 1826 area variance 108 Woodside Drive. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with condition.
What's your conditions?
My condition is that the bump out not be included in the variance, the little bump out.
So, and the bump out is to park the car?
I don't know whatever it's for. I am,
But is that what they said? I just want to.
they said both to park and to turn around perhaps.
And what is the, maybe I should ask for is there a second?
I'll second that.
So explain.
It's quite a generous variance without it, and it's quite an enormous area in the front yard setback. I think there's ample room for guests to park there, even with cars in the garage and allowing them to come and go. It's much bigger than the parking area for most of the houses in my neighborhood. And there is, it's a steep hill. It's not easy to park there, but you can. Those are my rationales. Now I need to go through the 5 points, don't I? Will there be a change to the neighborhood character? It was a wooded lot, so a large parking area here, even though not very visible from the street, is a change to the negative. Are there alternate solutions available so that a variance is not needed? I think this is one of the examples of why there are variances needed, because it's a very different property from others in the neighborhood. The very steep hillside requires some flexibility on the part of the city, and I think this solution satisfies their needs while minimizing the variance that we're giving, which is what we're asked to do on this board. What's the magnitude of the variance being requested? It's quite large, and reducing the little bump out is a small taking away from that otherwise large variance. But I think it's needed given the hillside and the topography. Will there be an adverse effect on the surrounding neighborhood if the variance is approved? I think there actually will be, but it will be small in effect. And is this a self-created difficulty? Not really, given that the site's very hard to build on.
You have anything to add, Christie?
No, that covers.
Any other discussion? Okay, so call the question. All those in favor of the variance with the condition of eliminating the bump out, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? We have authorizations for Thursday, October 4th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.